King Tut, learn it.
Hello guys, this is King Tut here and welcome to your 27th C++ tutorial. In this tutorial, I will teach you guys enum. So what is enum? It's short for enumeration and it's a collection of elements of which its value is sequential off of the first element. Uh, Sometimes the first element is 0 or sometimes the first element could be any number that you assign it to. So for example, we have earth, water, wind, and fire. And pretty cheesy as it sounds, but they're elements. And earth starts with 0. So the element after that is going to increment off of the first element. The third element will increment off of the second element. So for example, earth is 0, water is going to be 1, wind is going to be 2, it's going to have the value of 2, and fire will have the value of 3. What if I assigned 13 into earth? So earth is 13, water is going to have a value of 14, wind is going to have a value of 15, and fire will have a value of 16. You're not just limited to assigning a value to the first element. You could keep the first element as 0, and you could assign any element, doesn't matter, any values. The catch here is the preceding element, the element after the one that you assign it to, will increment off of the element that you assign it to. So for example, I assigned 13 into water. That means the value of wind will be 14. The value of fire will be 15. And I'll show you that in programming later in the video. So how do you implement enum? So you put enum, it's supposed to be lowercase, which I'll fix that before I post that. And in the bracket, it's optional to put the name of the enum. You don't have to put the name of it. You can just put enum and just a curly brace, but you don't need to put name in it. It's optional. Then you put the curly brace, and after the closing curly brace, you put a semicolon. You need to put that semicolon or else you're going to get an error. Inside that semicolon, you put however many elements you want to put in. But be sure to separate each of these elements by a comma. For example, he made an enum type, and he named the enum color or color. Depends on which country you're from. Some people spell it as COLOUR, or other people spell COLOR. So inside, you put red, you separate it with a comma, gold, comma, green, comma, and then blue. And then you don't need to put any comma anymore because you're not putting another element. Alright? So over here, they've declared a color variable, quote unquote variable. It's not really much of a variable, it's more like a constant, but you're giving that constant a name because enums are constant. You can't change any value. You have to do it inside of enum. And what he did, so to do that, you just put the enum name, you put the enum name, so you put the name of the enum variable, quote unquote variable, and then you assign it to one of the elements that relates to that enum. Over here, that's a mistake because it could be confused with this color because these two enums have the same element name. So you have to be careful. So if you have two enum with the same element name, you're gonna be prone to error if you're trying to make a enum variable and assign it to one of the element that relates to another enum. It's really confusing, but if you think about it a little, you'll understand. You could actually put in here as a value for a variable, an actual variable, not an enum, quote unquote variable. So here you declare a variable of int a, and then you assign it to this enum quote unquote variable. Here you cannot change the value of the enum. Like I said, it's a constant. You cannot change it. So now you know enum. What do you need enum for? What's the use of it? Well, if you manage to master enum, you'll find lots of use. But the two most important use of enum is the array index and the switch case statement. So if let's say you're loading some assets, you're programming the code to load all the assets, the image, and you want to render the image. Instead of guessing which number, you could make an enum related to image, and you could put the element of the image into the index of the array. That way, you don't have to worry about which index number has the forest picture. It's just right. You could just put in forest, and you don't have to memorize each number. And the switch case statement, it's the same thing. You don't have to put in what number. You don't have to guess what number. You don't even need to, when you're going back to read the code, you don't need to guess or figure out which case statement relates to. So let's say switch my grade case A, B, C, D, E, F for a student's grade. Instead of putting these chars, you could just put in enum and put A, B, C without the single quote mark. So it's an easier way to for any programmer to read each of these case statements without figuring out where these case statement relates to. All right, so now you know the spiel of enums. I'll show you how to do it on Cevelop. All right, guys, let's get right into using enums. So I'm just gonna only use one enum, so I'm not gonna be using multiple enums. So, like I said in the presentation, you write out enum, and you don't have to put the enum name. I never put enum name when I'm doing game dev, so I just not put the name of the enum. You put curly braces, and then you end it with a semicolon. And inside that enum, you're gonna put 4 elements, and these 4 elements are gonna be the example that I showed you early. So let's put Earth, and I put it all in caps lock. That way, it's a better way of organizing all of your elements. You could put Earth like that, but it doesn't make that distinct from the variable and class names. So it's better for you to put this. That way it looks more distinct and looks more readable. Water, wind, and fire. Okay. So I put these 4 elements. Let's uncomment that. So before I record this, I put all of this, I coded all of this. That way I don't have to go through the pain of trying to think of an example to put it in here and go through the pain of doing this while recording. Alright, so what I did here is I declared a string array variable, which is called element, and inside that string array variable I put earth first, water second, wind third, fire fourth, in that sequence. That way it matches up with enum. And I put int element num to be 0. And you could actually change 0 to be earth, because it's the same thing. Just putting earth from the enum is the same thing as putting 0 into element num. And then I implemented a switch case statement based off of element number. And so if element number happens to be 0, we print out earth. If element num is 1, it would print out water. If element num has a value of 2, it would print out wind. And if element num has a value of 3, it would print fire. And I didn't put 0, 1, 2, or 3. I actually put enum. That because it just takes the place of the number in the switch case statement. And also it takes the place of just putting in 0, 1, 2, 3 for the index of the element array variable. So let's run this program. And voila! Since element num is earth and earth is 0, it prints out earth. So let's see what happens if I to do another enum. And instead of doing elements, let's do color. So blue, red, green, brown. And let's make red 9. To do that, you put the equal sign after red, and then you put the value you want to assign it to red. And if you hover your mouse on red, it's going to say 9. It's going to say the value of the enum. You hover your mouse on blue, it's going to say 0, because the value of the first element is 0. You didn't assign anything to the blue element, so it's by default 0. So that means green will have the value incremented by 1 from the previous element, so that's going to be 10. Brown will increment off of the last element, which becomes 11. Hope this tutorial is helpful, and thank you so much for watching.
Thank you so much for watching. If you really like my video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're on YouTube, BitChute, or BitTube, please subscribe to my channel. If you're on Vlare, please follow my channel. If you're on Library, please follow my channel and download my video. And I hope to see you in the next tutorial. Bye!